Alright guys, what up? Mike wanted me to do like a quick tutorial on how I record stuff. Um, I do really basic shit, so no joke, if you show this to anyone that actually makes music, they will laugh at you. I'm not kidding. But if you have recorded like an audio battle on your phone before or something, and you really like don't have any knowledge of this stuff, this will make your stuff sound more professional. So, few things. Headphones. Pretty much a must. If you want to stay on beat, just, I don't know how to say it. You really need a set of headphones. These are Razer's gaming headset. Pretty simple, just plug and play. Oh, a thing about these. These came with a little headset microphone. They don't pick up lows very well at all, but the sound is relatively clear. Worst case scenario, you could use your laptop microphone or whatever is built in with your device. I used that headset microphone for my battles with Panics and Eddie Flow, and for the other two battles that I've done so far, I use this. This is Sony ECM 909. This is old. This is older than I am. And I don't really like it, but if you want a better microphone, Blue Microphones has a model called the Snowball. It's like $50, and it's really good. Here's another thing. If you've got like a netbook or like a small laptop, it may not have a port for both a microphone jack and a headphone jack. So, see, I've got these two right here. This is my headphones. This is for microphone. I can't plug both of these into my laptop at the same time. So I have an adapter. It's just a little USB thing, and you can see it's got two plugs right here. There's one for the headphones and one for the microphone. Plug, plug, and I can just plug it in and that's it. Really easy. If you want to do more professional stuff, and this is like pretty much a necessity for anyone that takes this seriously, two things you want are a pop filter and a preamp. Preamp kind of boosts and regulates the sounds of whatever it is you're recording. It cuts down on the mixing you have to do. It'll make things clearer, easier to hear. And basically you plug your microphone into the preamp, and then the preamp plugs into your device. So it's actually tampering with the recording when it's still analog before it goes digital. Pop filter, if you don't know what that is, just a little ring with like some padding in the middle. You put it in front of your microphone. So it'd go like right here, and things like sounds will not, they won't trigger a noise gate or start clipping if quite as easily if you have a pop filter, and that's also really important. So I'm gonna end this whole webcam thing, and I'm gonna go on to software and mixing. Right, so once you have your hardware figured out, you're going to need something to record with. I've had people recommend Ableton, Pro Tools, and Adobe Audition. All of those are really good programs, but they cost money. And if you're just looking to get up off the ground with this, and you want something for free, Audacity is kind of the standard program. Now, the newer versions of Audacity have some kind of copyright restriction where you're not allowed to export an MP3. So I'm using Audacity 2.0.5. There are probably newer versions that you can use where you can still export MP3s, but this is what I use, and for my purposes it works fine. Once you're in Audacity, some of the things you're going to want to pay attention to, well, actually, first off, if you're looking for a specific version of Audacity, you can find it. Just Google it. You'll find, see here, SourceForge. I think there's like version 2.1.0 right here. That's probably good as well. Again, it's really easy. It's free. Go to the website, click download, and it's right there. You might not even have to install because I think Audacity might just be an exe. I'm not even sure it's a program that requires more complex stuff. Once you have Audacity, what you want to pay attention to, project rate here. This is basically the quality of sound quality of your project. This is gonna sound really crappy if you set it to 8,000. If you set it too high, it won't really matter, and it's just going to take up more space for no reason. So I set it to 44.1K. I think that's like CD quality. Another thing, when you start recording, you want to pay attention to input volume. If you set it all the way up here, you'll probably be clipping, and actually I'll show you what that means right now. So when something is too loud, you begin to lose data. It becomes staticky and distorted. So you'll see things like these little red lines here. That means it's distorted. So you don't want that. Basically, you don't want to see that at all originally when you're mixing at first, which is why you want to set this as low as you can, because I'm getting ahead of myself right here. So set this low at first, and you can tamper with it later. But to start with, when you do your first take, you just want to make sure this is fairly low. Don't set it too low, but you know, I set it at 20%, and that works fine for me. Oh, also, you want to pay attention to what device you're recording with. If you select stereo mix, you're actually capturing the input from your computer's speakers. So you can use that to capture something like if Raider sends you a beat and he wants you to use it, you can get it into Audacity using this. And then if you want to record, you can use, like, I think these are the default, yeah, this is like the default laptop microphone. If I had plugged in my microphone or my headset prior to opening up Audacity, I would see those options here too. So that's how you select what you're recording with. Input volume, input device, latency. That's a big problem. If you go edit, preferences, recording, you can see a thing called latency correction here. And basically, if you just hit record and you start like rapping, you may be off beat, even if it's not your fault. And if you are, then it's probably due to latency. This starts out at 0 originally, but if you find that you're off beat, even when you're on beat, even if you're rapping on beat, the recording sounds off beat, you may need to go into here and tamper with this a little bit. Just plug in different numbers, positive and negative, and just trial and error, and you'll get it. Another thing, you want to make sure this is checked. Overdub. Play other tracks while recording a new one. It's really important. You will not be able to stay on beat because you will not hear the beat unless this is checked. Make sure this is checked. And also the tools for Audacity. This little ticker up here allows you to select things. If you want to apply an effect to it, like if you want to make it fade out like that, you select it first, then you go to effects, and the effect will be applied to whatever it is you selected. You can also do things like edit, clip boundaries, split. That creates a little boundary here. So if I use this tool, this moves things back and forth. But if I only want to move part of it, I can make that little boundary there, and then I can do this. And so you can see I can move it between which track it's on. It'll kind of click like that if it touches something. And you can also, like when you're selecting things, it'll kind of stop there. I can go past it, but it'll snap there really easily, which is nice. And you can just click on those to remove them. Yeah. Oh, magnifying glass. You can zoom in, and you can see that's 1 second from 136 to 137 here. And if I right-click, I can zoom back out all the way until like this is 15 seconds, this tiny little thing right here. So those are just some things to use to navigate. You know, selection, moving things. If you already have an instrumental of a beat, you can go to File, Import, and then Audio. So I can just go and click this. You select your file, it imports, and you'll get something right here. That's another way you could do things. And when you want to export, File, Export, and you can select whether it's an MP3 or like a WAV file. Where's WAV? Right there. Pick a name, save. It'll like give you different options. All right, mine already exists. But it really that's really simple. It'll export wherever you want. It's just like saving a file. And some of the things that I use for mixing. Let's see, what have we covered so far? I think we've covered everything else. So when you're mixing, these effects are going to be kind of the meat and potatoes of what you do to make your audio quality sound better. So, for instance, if something does not sound clear, or if it's too quiet, I can select part of it. Like, okay, this is a great example. I'll set the boundaries, so the boundary on the left side, there's not a whole lot of sound happening. There's some sound happening here, but then right here, there's not a whole lot happening either. And I can amplify it. Effect, amplify, and then you see it's bigger, which means it's louder. Now, the interesting thing is it already shows how much to amplify it, 6.9 decibels. And if I go to amplify it again, it'll say like 0. I can't amplify it anymore. I can drag it up higher, but then the OK button won't work. Now, if I do that, it still doesn't work, but if I click Allow Clipping, it will. And this is what I was talking about earlier. See, you can see there are these little red bars here now. What that means is that it's effectively too loud, it's going to sound staticky, and information is being lost. So the quality of the file is going down. You want to be careful of that. You don't want that to happen. It can happen every once in a while, like you can see it here, here, here. But if it's happening a lot, it's bad. It's going to affect the way your project sounds. And here's an interesting thing. If your microphone popped, like during a p or t sound, you might see something like this, where the sound all around it is not particularly high, but right here you just kind of have this spike. And so what you can do here is you can go down and you can use hard limiter, and if you set it like all the way down, it'll shrink to nothing. But if you use it just a little bit, like maybe down 2.85 syllables, it'll look like that, which is better. Keep in mind, that's something you want to be really careful with, because if you do that too much, like I'll do that right here and cut it down a lot, you'll see that basically what it's done is it's just chopped everything above this level. That almost like flatlined. So if I just set it here, you can see that it's just kind of chop, 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 chop. It's not good. It'll sound as if it's clipping if you do that. It'll sound staticky. So you really only want to use the hard limiter for those little weird instances where like maybe you picked up feedback, your microphone popped or something. And one of the nice things about the hard limiter is once you do that, you can select certain pieces of your recording and amplify them. Now originally I just select the entire thing and amplify it. I can't right now because I already did it earlier when I first recorded this. But I do that over the whole thing, and then I go over individual parts and amplify them. If you do that too often or with really little pieces of audio, it'll sound weird and unnatural. So always listen to it after you do it to make sure it sounds good. But the reason that I have to go and do that manually is because I don't have a preamp. If you have a preamp, your preamp will basically do that for you before it even hits the computer. It'll go through the microphone, the preamp will do that, and then it'll hand it to the computer already kind of like this. So then another thing you want to pay attention to, and these two are probably the most important as far as actually mixing and tampering with the sound, the compressor. The compressor makes quiet things louder and louder things quieter. And that's really important for any subtleties in your voice or whatever, and it just overall makes things easier to hear. I'm not exactly sure how all of these things work. All I know is that with these settings I get a fairly decent sound. And if I select part of like the instrumental here and compress it, you can see that as a whole it looks a little bit larger than it did before. And if you're wondering, I'm using Control-Z, Control-X, Control-C, just basic undo, redo commands. And similarly, you can use Control-X to cut a piece of audio out, and Control-V to paste one. It's really that easy. Let's see, I think I already showed you guys the fade in and fade out. Just select fade in or fade out. Reverberation, right here. This will give you more of a studio quality sound. It'll sound like you're in a studio even if you're in your bedroom, just by giving your voice a little bit of echo. Careful with these settings. I have them set fairly low, because if they're not, it sounds really overdone. And also, don't use echo. Echo, the latency, like you speak and then the echo comes a lot later and it just doesn't sound good. Reverb is what you want. Depending on the track, you may or may not want to do that. The biggest thing that anyone who masters vocals will talk to you about is equalization, or EQing. This is kind of a pain in the ass. It's hard to do. It takes a good ear to figure out what you want to do. This is just kind of a general curve. I'm amplifying lows, mids very slightly, and then highs. Based on what you're recording with, based on what your voice sounds like, and based on what kind of song you're doing, like whether you're doing a battle or like a song about a breakup or something, these curves will be different because the sound here will be different. This is a very general one. This is not personalized to me, just because I haven't spent enough time figuring out my own voice to figure out what's good. But typically, a smooth curve will sound better. If you like really get good at this kind of stuff, you'll have more curves than that. You'll have stuff going up and down like constantly. But one thing you do not want to do is, and basically like the worst thing you could do is make these spikes like this, and this will sound like total garbage. So yeah, there are like built-in curves and things. Oh yeah. So there's like a bass cut, walkie-talkie. Walkie-talkie has really just mids only. That's I really don't know what else to say about equalization. I just use this curve. You can experiment with it. Be careful with it. It can really screw up your quality, but it can also make it sound really good. And I think that's it. Yeah, when you're ready, you can just hit export, export your project, and then you can go to like MediaFire or whatever and upload it. Really couldn't be simpler. Yeah, easy, not too much to it, and you guys just go out and have fun. If you want to record on a mobile device, if you don't have a computer, Eddie Flo recorded his battle with me using his phone, and he used GarageBand, so that's totally viable as well. He could probably make a video on how he does that. I don't have a smartphone though, so I can't tell you about that. And if you have an Android device, there's probably other apps that do the same thing. But yeah, that's really it. I'm gonna cancel this because this was just kind of to show you like what MediaFire looks like and how to upload. But yeah, that's really it. So I'll see you guys in the ring later.